Hello and a warm welcome back to the garden. So I'm filming this particular video about 3 days after my garden show, which happened on the Sunday. We opened the garden for the National Garden Scheme, which is a really good charity that splits the proceeds amongst various other charities. And each year I basically open up my garden for this open day, and it enables people to come and view the garden, and it's a good way actually of me getting feedback from a wider range of people on how the garden's looking, what's looking good. And it's nice to hear people taking away the kind of design tips and taking lots of photos for inspiration in the future. So this particular video is going to be just a little walk around the garden. It was meant to be filmed a couple of weeks ago, so it was supposed to be my kind of July tour, so apologies for that. And in this particular video I thought I would sort of break it down into the different areas of the garden that have got kind of different themes, and just talk a little bit about how what's looking good at the moment in those areas, any improvements that I'd like to make to the garden, and a few kind of tips that you can use in your own gardens at home to kind of mimic some of the things that I've kind of done here. So I really hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please click the like button. That'd be absolutely fantastic, and it helps to build the channel and build the community on there. And if you want to see kind of future content, so the progression of the garden, as well as more kind of design tips and planting tips, and I generally visit quite a few different garden centres or kind of chains like B&Q and B&M, and I show you guys basically what plants are available at what prices. So if you enjoy all that sort of thing, please also subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and it does mean that you get further updates on those kind of things. So as for the NGS and the open day that I had, a little bit of feedback on a few things, which was really good, but the flow of the garden worked really well. And this was something that we kind of struggled with in the previous year, and that's when you've got a lot of guests moving through your garden, which is effectively designed for myself and for my family and everything like that. It's difficult to think when you've got, say, 100 people walking through your garden, where the pinch points are and how the flow of the garden. And always a pinch point, to be honest, is the selling of the cake and the refreshments and everything. So a lot of people congregate around the area on the patio for that. And what we decided to do this year is, because the front garden had changed into a tropical style garden as well, I decided to basically move some table and chairs out on the gravel kind of driveway at the front of the house. And it meant that people could get their tea and cake, and they could sit in a different area of the garden to they could really last year. And that was really successful, because that meant that people moved away from the bar area or my patio area, and it was just less congested, and the whole garden kind of had a better flow to it. So without further ado, let's go to the various different areas of the garden, and I will show you some of the improvements, or talk about some of the improvements that I'd like to make for probably next year, and some design tips which will help you achieve that kind of theme in your own garden at home. So yeah, let's go and have a look. Starting at the bottom of the drive here, so we have the woodland garden on the left, which features a lot of kind of shade loving plants. And the main sort of idea of this part of the garden is to mimic a kind of woodland environment, so a kind of wood chipped floor. We've got tree ferns and other kind of ground cover going on in this area. So this was obviously replanted this year, and I'm really pleased with how this is looking at the moment. Probably won't make any tweaks to this particular area. My main kind of mission really is to try and get this Phoenix palm through the winter, It is sort of semi-protected from the yew tree which is above it, and that was the idea when I planted it. And yeah, so I'm really pleased with how that is looking on there. This side of the garden here is actually one of my favourite parts of the garden. I love the combination of the kind of the silver lamb's ear foliage with the kind of ribbon of the Japanese forest grass which kind of goes through this area here. Excuse me. And also liking the different heights on these particular palms. So we've got the Camrox Volcano, the Cerifera, and a Trachycarpus fortunei there. So textures all looking good, different combinations of green, which all is working really, really well. I put this rose arch in about 2 weeks before the show, and the main idea here is to grow the Tracheospernum jasminoides over and to give a entrance and exit at the lower portion of this garden. Seating area has really matured. The plants around it are looking really fab, which is great. And I'm liking all the kind of funky leaf combinations as well. Got some lovely colour on these phormiums, and the Butea palm in the middle there. Definitely putting on a little bit more growth. I think at least one leaf this year as it settles in. Looking along the long border here, we've got the Ricinus, which is the kind of purpley leaf plant there in the middle of the frame at the back. And they did grow a lot better, I would say, in the back garden than they have in the front. I'm not sure why that is really. I think the combination here of the sort of the old long cottage garden planting along this long border, and I've mixed this in with the tropical style plants. I think the combo is working really well, and there's some really interesting flowers here. And yeah, I think a little tweak in the winter, but generally looking pretty good. Where this Tetrapanax is now, with these big leaves, that is currently in a pot, and it was moved to this location purely because just before the garden show, the echiums which I was growing there, I had 3 and they've all died, but at different times, and I don't know why that's happened, which is very frustrating. So this Tetrapanax was put there for the show, and I don't know what you guys think, but I think that actually looked quite nice there. I think it gives a good leaf contrast with the plants around it, so it may well stay in that position for the future. The dahlias here are looking really fab. The colour is just such a vibrant red, and there's absolutely loads of flower buds on them, so that is a massive success. I thought they might be successful here just because of the amount of sunshine they get, but obviously planted next to the privet hedge, I thought maybe there'd be all the nutrients would be taken by the hedge, but that seems to have worked quite well on this one, so really pleased with that. Just panning down the garden here, you can see for the garden show the topiary in the front here was all nicely trimmed up, and we had lots of nice comments about how sharp that looked. Just before the show I did a lot of kind of hedge cutting, weeding, edging, all that kind of the normal kind of garden stuff, but just making sure that the garden was absolutely top notch. In this bed, I mean, look how fantastic those Tetrapanax leaves look here. gets loads of sunshine in the middle, and it's definitely a very impressive plant, and one I would suggest that everybody that's into tropical style garden has one of those in their garden, because even in a small space it will give you the height, which is very important to add depth really to your gardens on there. So yeah, it's definitely a plant to try and work into the garden, and I love it. I mean, I think it's up there with my favourites, like all the palms are on there. Then you got the nice hint of the canna in flower there, and that reddy orange is then picked up by the phormium beneath it. So little design tip there is to try and get your colours to kind of match in, so foliage colours and flower colours in different plants, trying to get them to work. And another little thing is you can see where the phormium is in the middle there, you got some hints of some pinks as well, and then we've got a bog standard kind of sedum to the side of it. The bees absolutely love them, and that also picks up the pink from the leaves there. So the first year really of this tropical style garden being everything being put in the ground, and a few failures, but I would say 95% successful. I did have a lot of knowledge really from when I did the back garden, so I used a lot of that to not make the same mistakes that I made in the back here. So let's go and have a look at the back garden, starting with the patio. So the back garden is now 2.5 years old, and the plants are really maturing well. I have been feeding them like mad, and we have been lucky to have some really good warm weather. So this is my kind of bar area and patio entertaining area. I think I've got a good combination here of space and using pots to kind of soften some of the areas is a really good thing to do as well. You have to excuse the hose pipe on there. So the courtyard garden, not a huge amount has changed in here, just everything's kind of matured on there. I mean, probably the biggest, well, two things that have grown really well this year: cordyline in the middle here, definitely put on a lot more height, and the foxglove tree above is looking really fab. I've been feeding a Musa Baju banana, which is in this area here, and we've now got it to the height of the fence. The plan is to allow it to grow up into this space above here. One little mistake that I made really is the hydrangeas. I think should have been trimmed back a lot harder this year. Kind of left them, and they've ended up being extremely tall in this section, which some people at the garden show actually quite liked, so can't complain too much there. But that's the thing with this sort of garden, is that, you know, everybody's got their different opinions, and, you know, sometimes, you know, these things are neither right or wrong. You just have to kind of go with the flow and do what you want to do in your garden, really. So as we walk along the Mediterranean style walkway, again, the plants are looking fab. Little swamp area on this side. It's nice to see the garden in kind of full size, really, or near full size. Another Tetrapanax. Tell I love this plant, but used in a different area this time. It's in the kind of swampy area, and it's under a big sycamore tree there. For the garden show, I open this side gate, and there's usually a passage that goes all the way along the back the hedge, and that worked really well from getting people from this side of the garden around the back and out into this section. We've got a lot of new growth on the Butiagris erythropatha. New leaves forming on there, looking super healthy. Just hope I can get that through any severe frosts. As we walk down the walkway, you can see the Italian cypress trees really give height in this section. I did have a few leaves died off on the Brahmata, but it has put out new leaves this year. Seems to be looking all right now. But I think early on it wasn't particularly hot, but it was very dry for a long time, and I didn't keep up with my watering. I had in my mind, don't overwater it, and I think I massively underwatered it, to be honest. So we've got some lovely agapanthus, which is a little bit hidden by the leaves of the palm. But yeah, they're looking healthy. The upgraded area here, the arid section, put a load of kiln dried sand down, which is a lovely backdrop with the yucca rostratas there and all this kind of sempervirniums, the yuccas and the phormiums. Really like this section, and I'm pleased actually that I brought out the curve a lot more than I did originally, and that was purely because I made a huge mistake when I was spraying off the grass beneath the actual bed. I placed the weed killer can that I was using on the grass, and as I was moving it along and stuff, and we ended up with some big circles of dead grass, which was a bit of a pain. So I thought, this was about a week and a half before the show, and yeah, I basically brought the edge out more to cover it, which is why it's about a foot wider than it was before. But I think overall it's still in proportion with the garden and works really well. It's nice to see some of these yuccas and Trachycarpus and the bananas. Everything's getting to a really decent size now, because in the first year of doing this garden, everything was really small and it looked like a newly planted garden. And now it's definitely looking like a mature garden in only 2.5 years. And as I say, one of the main things that you can do to speed up the process is literally buy the correct palm fertilizers for your palms, so that it gives them the best possible growth during that season, and that will help them to get through winter time. And for everything else, like kind of cannas and bananas and everything like that, it's definitely worth using things like Grow More, and even some kind of bloodfish and bone and things like that. Give maximum growth to plants, keep them really, really healthy, and that means that they will get through winter in hopefully unscathed, or worst case scenario, at least they survive the winter, and then you can kind of pick up where you left off last year. So as we head now into the jungle clearing area, a very small section surrounded by lush planting and tree ferns, lots of interesting plants here, but also a lot of plants that I've used elsewhere in the garden, but just using different combinations to try and make it more interesting. And you can see even here with the ferns, you've got this sort of yellowy coloured fern at the bottom there, contrasting against the colocasia leaves, which are enormous. And then a different coloured green, a different shade of green for the tree ferns. And also even the trunks of the tree ferns, different kind of textures going on there. Kind of like a woodland style garden here. And then you've got the massive Musa Baju at the back there. and I did put some fake bananas in there just to kind of fool some of the people coming to look at the garden. And yeah, I think it was successful in that front. In this area as well, I do have quite a few kind of leftover trees and that from the orchard when it was originally planted. So there's apples and pears, and there's even figs off to the side here. And this particular area is, the idea is it's supposed to be a secluded little area that you can sit in private, and to mimic that kind of thick jungle around the edge, and then you're in this clearing, and yeah, it's just got that kind of vibe about it, so you can sit and relax in private even though you're kind of just off the main lawn. It just enables you to have a different experience to the rest of the garden. So yeah, that's how the garden is looking. This is now the first week of August. The July tour was supposed to be obviously 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I was really busy getting all the National Garden Scheme opening all sorted out. There was a lot to prepare this year with extra signage and yeah, to really help with the kind of different zones that I'd created. So yeah, I hope you've really enjoyed watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button, which will help get this content out to more people such as yourselves. And I will always do obviously my video updates of how the garden is developing, and I will always share my kind of design tips and also visiting various places that sell tropical style plants. So really hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching.